Captain Schaaf's log, stardate 76270.1. Not unlike the challenging events witnessed during this week's episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, I too have experienced a wave of obstacles. So hopefully I can lean on Captain Vactor to help me get through this difficult week. Welcome to TREKNolgical, a Star Trek shakedown. This is a short-form podcast hosted by two hardworking dads who love to talk Trek. I'm Captain Schaaf, and with me each week, side by side in our co-captain's chairs on the bridge of the USS TREKNolgical, is Captain Vactor. How you doing, Vactor?
Well, Schaaf, it's been a long, hard week, but this is a very good way to end it.
Long and hard. That's what she said. Well, I'm glad that we've reached the end of the week. And for our listeners, real quick, we're recording this on Monday, October 24th. We're going to be talking about episode 9 of season 3 of Lower Decks, which technically came out on Thursday of last week. But it's just been one thing after another this week, as well as over the weekend. So this is really the first opportunity that we've had with our busy schedules to make this happen. So we apologize for the delay. Normally these episodes would be live on Fridays, and we'll endeavor to do better. But I it's all my fault. I'm taking the blame this time around. Now, if you're just joining us, here's what we do. Each week, we'll be traveling to a new planet to seek out new Trek news, as well as boldly going through our thoughts of each episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. Additionally, at the end of every episode, we have a fun segment that we like to call Boldly Dadding, and that's where we talk about our lives with being fathers and husbands and what it's like being a dad who's hardworking and attentive, and there's lots of fun stories. There's also great lessons to be learned too. So, with that in mind, let's check in on a special product that we've been trying called Magic Mind. I'll let you go first, Captain Vactor. You have completed the 14-day challenge,
yes.
And I wanted to hear what you thought about it.
Yeah, I think I had a pretty consistent experience with it all the way through. I felt productive when I was taking it, and I'm still on the fence of, is it the placebo effect or is it the magic mind? Either way, I still felt good when I was taking it, and it just kind of became part of my morning ritual. So when I stopped, it was kind of like, oh man, something's missing out of my daily routine. So I think my overall thoughts on the product are it's something I would recommend to someone who is looking for some type of a boost in the morning. Same thing with why do you take coffee? That type of thing. And they're all natural, so I would feel good about recommending it to someone and saying, hey, this is something healthy to put in your body. So I just I think I didn't have any ups and downs. It was just kind of steady and consistent for me throughout the 14 weeks. Throughout the 14 days of Magic Mind. So I had a good experience.
Nice. Yeah, I would say my experience was pretty good. Honestly, here's the thing about me. I'm a terrible patient. I am the most non-compliant patient ever. And if somebody says, you need to drink this or eat this or consume this every single day in the mornings for a certain length of time, I mean, it could be antibiotics. And your boy, Captain Schaaf, will not do that right. I will always forget. I'll even set reminders for myself on my phone. I'll have my Fitbit going off saying, what the heck? It's time. My tricorder will ding at me. But no matter what, I'll always forget. I'm just really bad with this stuff. So I definitely had days in between where I forgot and didn't have it. So I don't want to speak on the 14 days as like a consistent effect. Like this is how I felt afterwards. But I will say that I need a boost in the mornings, and this definitely provides a boost. I also love coffee, so I was drinking them in tandem, and it was good. Again, I've mentioned them before. The flavor's not amazing, so that was a little something of a hurdle for me. My wife, Sarah, was really intrigued by the product, and she's really into a lot of like natural supplements and such. She's very, unlike me, she's great about being consistent on taking things that are good for the body. And so I could learn a thing or two from her any day of the week, really. But she also tried it for the days that I missed. She went ahead and tried those ones. And she liked it, but she also thought the flavor was a little off. So, nothing against the benefits of it. Not everything that's good for you tastes good.
Right.
So that doesn't mean anything. But yeah, so I would recommend Magic Mind to anyone who's looking for a boost in the mornings with something with a more natural ingredient than the very sugary 5-hour energies and all that stuff. So it's better than an energy drink. Don't do energy drinks. I mean, do something like this if you're going to put something in your body. So that's what I have to say. Now, now that we've talked about Magic Mind, let's go ahead and set a course for the nearest planet, Maximum Warp.
Aye, sir. Course laid in.
Must go faster. Must go faster. All right, Captain Vactor, meet me in the transporter room where we'll beam down to the planet's surface in search for some Trek news.
Aye, Captain Choff. On our way.
2 to beam down. Captain Vactor, let's scan the planet's surface for any sign of Trek news.
I found some Trek news, Captain Choff.
Thank you, Captain Vactor. Please transmit those news articles to our show notes for our listeners. Now then, let's continue our weekly mission with our episode discussion. So we're going to be talking about Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 9. The episode is called Trusted Sources. And like we mentioned, it first aired on Thursday, October 20th. It was directed by Phil Mark Sagadrika. Sagadrika?
Yeah.
How did I do? Sagadraka.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Sagadraka. That sounds good. I'm just going to call him Phil. Anyways, he was directed by Phil and written by Ben M. Waller. Now, before we get into the synopsis and our thoughts, I want to throw up a quick red alert because we do not want to spoil this for you. If you haven't had a chance yet to watch Trusted Sources, maybe you've had a super challenging week as well, and you just haven't been able to sit down and watch the episode. We get it. We totally get it.
Oh, yeah.
So this is your warning. We are going to get into the nitty gritty. And now you have an opportunity to press pause and check out one of our previous episodes, or even put on a Star Trek film, perhaps the motion picture. Ooh. And then you can listen to our co-captain's commentary, which is available within our episode listing as well. Now, the synopsis of the episode is as follows. A visiting reporter on the Cerritos puts Captain Freeman on edge. So let's get it out of the way. Let's talk about whether we like this episode or not. This is the penultimate episode of the season. Next week, or rather this week, is the season finale of Season 3, which is kind of hard to believe that we're already at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so Captain Vactor, I'll let you go first. What did you think of this episode?
I enjoyed this episode quite a bit, and at the end of the episode, I was feeling very good. I said, man, I really like the way that it's kind of setting up the finale, a little cliffhanger at the end, and just made me feel good throughout this whole episode. I liked everything that they were doing, the shtick of the reporter coming on and doing the interviews, and then Mariner's storyline. I think everything for me gelled and came together and worked on every level that they were operating on. So I had a very good time with this episode.
Me too. You know, it just continues their slew of great episodes that have happened on this second half of the season. They've all been strong since 5. They've all been strong. So it's been really nice to see. The whole visiting reporter element was fun. I gotta say though, it was extremely predictable that it was not Mariner that was saying all that stuff about Captain Freeman and all the hijinks that goes on the Cerritos. I think that my wife Sarah actually watched this episode with me. I invited her. She had seen bits and pieces, maybe about 5 or 7 minutes of that episode with I can't remember the name of the episode. Oh no, it was the Mathematically Perfect Redemption, with Peanut Hamper. And she saw like bits of that episode and she was laughing a bunch, but I was like, babe, this is not typical Star Trek lower decks. Like the crew like factors into maybe, I don't know, 5-10 minutes of the whole thing. It's like she has no idea. Like at that point she had no idea who the main characters were. It was just a bunch of bird people and having sex with a droid. Like, I was that just didn't work. So I was like, you need to watch an actual episode with the crew on the Cerritos and then, let me know what you think. So she watched this episode with me and we both were laughing a bunch. There were definitely some really great lines of dialogue in this episode. But I paused it at one point before it was revealed that Mariner was actually speaking positively about her experiences, not negatively. And I was like, this is going to be a moment where Mariner's not the one at fault. It's probably a bunch of other people. But then again, I also thought that it would be a situation that Mariner was sent away, but ended up being where she was needed. Something related to interacting or solving what was happening on those 2 planets was something that only Mariner could do. And I thought that was going to be a thing where then they brought her back because, we need you, you're a very, very valuable person. That part didn't happen, but I did predict that it wasn't Mariner. One thing we talked about earlier in the season, I think this was even when Captain Rick at Random Gotham on TikTok and Instagram, we were talking about Starbase 80, and I was like, I wonder if we'll ever see Starbase 80. And in this episode, we finally do. We get to see 2 crew members from it as well, and it's a dirty, messy, sloppy place.
The worst place you can go.
Yeah, with dirty, messy, sloppy people as well. I kind of wish Adam Pally was voicing a character from that because that seems like the place he should be.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, it was a good episode. What were some of the standout lines for you?
Well, living in Arizona, I thought it was very funny when they were talking about the ships, the California class, and Arizona is near California, and that made me chuckle.
Yes.
There was come on, guys, there's plenty to do around here that doesn't end in sugary diarrhea. Oh, maybe for you. So that would make me laugh. And then glutes are cute, but obliques are for freaks. And that made me think of Captain Shaw.
Yeah, that line made me laugh really hard. And as well, Sarah, my wife, laughed very hard at that part. Because she doesn't know anything about Ransom, but Ransom was going full Ransom on this episode.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Mm-hmm. So the dialogue, there was a ton of funny dialogue in this episode, so they were very good.
Oh, yeah. There was a couple other ones that I wrote down. Let me see what my notes have here. Here we go. I'm like a mini captain, like a sweet baby captain. I thought that was good. The sugary diarrhea line is probably my favorite. But I also liked, is this a frame of mind thing? Am I going to wake up with a neural drain on my head? Like, it's funny when they reference the names of episodes from Next Generation as if that's just how everyone else remembers it too. Right. Like, that's just funny to me. We have medical supplies, engineering know-how, unlimited snacks. My 2-year-old is a snack queen. This girl, she gets her snack on as much as possible. And I just, when she had unlimited snacks, I was like, oh man, my daughter Emily would love this place. So there were a lot of great moments in this. Now, I I feel like, and I said this before, but I feel like we're building towards a very clear season finale. I think not every episode, but a lot of these episodes have charted a very specific course. And one of them, one of the major plot points I think we're going to be getting to is rogue AI.
Ooh.
Because we've got Peanut Hamper, you've got Aramis. I can't remember the name of the mainframe that turned evil. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we have that. And then we have the new Texas class ships, which are fully AI automated ships. And I'm thinking there's going to be a revolt. There's going to be an AI revolution. They're going to rebel. And I just think like then you've got a whole Starfleet like inner struggle and like a civil war of sorts with dealing with a threat from within. So I think that's where they're going. I would not be surprised especially if it landed on a cliffhanger with something related to that. But I don't think you introduce automated ships and have the season you had without it going somewhere like that.
Yeah. And that's something that we saw in that episode at the end where the Peanut Hamper, where they had all of that row of AI.
Yes.
So yeah, that I don't know if I was thinking when I got to that point, that would be, season 5, like just, push it out into the next season. Just like with Peanut Hamper, how that was a callback from 2 seasons ago. I thought they would kind of push it out a little bit, but I would not be surprised if that was the finale for this season as well, because I can't think of any other threats that they've set up from this season specifically. So I definitely could see that happening next episode.
I also wouldn't be surprised if we saw more from the Breen, which is a species of alien that we haven't seen in a long time. So we haven't seen the Breen. First of all, they were created for Deep Space Nine, and they were part of like the Dominion, allies or whatever. But they also were in a Voyager episode, Flesh and Blood, and that was back in the year 2000. So it has been 22 years since we've seen the Breen. And they're really interesting alien species that we just haven't seen much of. We've never really seen their faces. They've always have these helmets on. So I just think that's going to be a really great option. And it's something they did the past few seasons with the Packleds. Like Packleds we saw maybe 1 or 2 episodes with on TNG, like it wasn't much. And then they made them into the main threat. And funny as well. And so I think like the Breen, they've got another opportunity here with a lesser experienced Star Trek. I don't want to call them baddies because they're just alien species, but they definitely have been on the side that is not for Starfleet. So I'm interested to see what they do with that, because I feel like that's not the last time we're going to see the Breen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that. I definitely want to see some more. It was quite a tease in this episode. I want to see some more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And by the end, Mariner has resigned from Starfleet, and she's hooked up with the archaeologist chick from the earlier episode in the season. And I mean, I definitely saw that one coming. That I'm glad, because I think that's a great place for her character to go from a character development standpoint. Like, she's pretty much a pro at anything Starfleet. Like, she's an ensign, but she's a very talented and experienced officer. So for her to, be pushed to the edge, like, I don't think she's going to stay there on that ship. I mean, otherwise she's written off the show. Like, she's kind of a main character. Plus we already know she's going to be in the crossover episode next season for A Strange New World. So it's like, she's going to come back in some capacity. But what will it take is the question, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And I'm very much enjoying her arc that she's had. Like I said, this whole season has been a joy for me. So everyone's hitting on all cylinders as far as where each character is at. They've all had their own storylines, and they've all had their moment to shine this season. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to see where they take Mariner into the next season.
And another thing that I really liked and I always look forward to with Lower Decks is they take hard looks at the TNG show and episodes. Like this episode was where they go to Ornara and Brekka, those two planets. That was inspired by the events of the episode of TNG called Symbiosis, or Symbiosis, however you want to say it. But that one was sort of like Star Trek's attempt to sort of provide commentary on the 80s drug epidemic. And Picard twists the Prime Directive in a way to cut off the drug supply. And it's interesting to me because that whole idea of second contact where there's projects swing by, there's a lot of options that they have there where, you know, whether it's the Enterprise or some other ship, like they do a great job of observing cultures, but they don't do a very good job with the cleanup or the maintenance of that. So there's all these worlds that sort of are left off wanting and haven't heard from Starfleet in God knows how long. So I think it's really great, and it made me want to go back and watch Symbiosis, which I haven't done yet, but I may do. But very, very cool. Any final thoughts on the episode?
Just that it got me hyped for the next episode. The cliffhanger was very good in teasing you and setting you up for the next one. So I'm right there. It hooked me, Shaw. It got me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too. And this week, I can't believe it, we'll be saying goodbye to yet another Star Trek season. When we started this podcast, we started with Star Trek Picard season 2, and we said goodbye to that. And then we started Strange New Worlds, and we said goodbye to that. And now we started Lower Decks, and we're going to say goodbye to that and say hello to the second half of Star Trek Prodigy.
Oh, yeah.
Which I am fully caught up on. What about you, Vactor?
I'm still in, I'm in the middle of the season.
Okay.
The middle of the first half, I should say.
Okay, so you've got, I think you were on 7, if I was not mistaken. So you don't have that much more to go. And thankfully, these episodes are not very long. So
right.
So you should be able to get caught up before Thursday.
Oh, yeah. Very easy.
But I have to say, I'm so glad that our Trek Talk community was able to encourage us to check out this show, because honestly, I liked it. And I was surprised that I liked it. So
nice.
I'm just glad that we've got the Trek Talk community there to sort of guide us.
Yeah, I'm glad too, because I had recommended this to Shaw, and he was not as kind to me as he is to our Trek community. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys exist as well.
But yeah, that when I say Trek Talk community, I mean there's a lot of people to thank, but specifically for Prodigy, we want to thank John Daranowski. So thank you so much for that. And that's our thoughts for this episode of Lower Decks, Season 3, Trusted Sources. But we are not done with our episode. No. Because coming up next, we'll be talking about Boldly Dadding. Co-Captain's Log Supplemental. If you haven't heard about Anchor from Spotify, it's the easiest way to make an interplanetary podcast with everything you need all in one sector. Let us explain.
Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone, computer, or tricorder.
When hosting on Anchor, you can transmit your podcast on all hailing frequencies to each of the 4 quadrants on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and much more.
It's everything you need to synthesize a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. No gold-pressed latinum needed.
Download the Anchor app or boldly go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, so we've reached the point of the episode where we are going to share a story or a lesson learned during the past week as dads to young kids in what we love to call boldly dadding.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let Vactor take the reins and talk about whatever dad moment he would like to share.
Yeah, this week was very, as we said in the beginning, long and hard. But I had a couple of things that came to my mind as I was raising my son this week. He's been very fussy this week, and tempers have flared, emotions have risen. He has very big emotions at this stage, and trying to empathize with him and understand that he just doesn't have the tools necessary to express himself or to regulate his emotions and kind of keep everything in check. And what's really been tough for me specifically is the language barrier, because he's not speaking yet, and picking up on body language and other cues. And it's almost as if you're speaking to someone who speaks a foreign language. You just can't. There's that failure to communicate. So I was talking to Schaff earlier this week, and he kind of gave me some advice about how once we are both able to talk to each other, once he's understanding, if I say, no, that's not good, don't do that, then we can come to a better agreement. Right now, everything is kind of, I'm trying to take in as much information as I can, but I misread him sometimes. I don't know exactly what he wants. So just trying to be patient and give him his space to kind of let his emotions come out. But at the same time, still trying to guide him as best I can. Hey, that's not a good thing to do. You should not be hitting people. You should not be doing these things. So it's been kind of a rough week in that regard. But then I also had another epiphany, as it were, this week, and it actually came from Star Wars.
Ooh.
Shaw, from the Star Wars universe, which I'm also a big fan of, as well as Star Trek. But I was listening to an interview with George Lucas, and this was, as far as I can tell, the latest interview he's done. The most recent, I should say. It was from, I want to say, October or November of last year, 2021. And it was actually his wife who was being interviewed, but he came on the interview and they asked him some questions. But it was an audience of 12-year-olds. So he was speaking to them and trying to use language that they would understand. But he was talking about a lot of Jedi philosophy and the difference between what fear can do to you and what love and compassion can do to you. And
fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
That was 100% accurate by Schaff. And it was funny because the moderator of the interview, after George Lucas had said, he talked about fear and he talked about how it leads to things that leads to coveting things and leads to actions that might not be pleasant. And the moderator was like, yeah, I never thought about fear being a dark side thing. And it was like, this guy's clearly not a Star Wars fan.
No.
If you knew anything about Star Wars, you'd know that. But anyways, he started talking about attachment and letting things go. And it made me think about number one, my immediate family that's right next to me, my wife and my son. And then also my more extended family of my parents and other ones, other family members, and letting them go, as in we're only here for a short amount of time, relatively speaking. Once they depart, once they leave, and, sometimes they leave a little bit earlier than we want them to. And with my son, it's him leaving the house. And so I was thinking, man, he's not even 2 years old, and I'm already thinking about him leaving the nest. So spending time with him and making the most of the time that I have with him. And I've said this before on one of our Boldly Dadding segments. There's going to be a time when he does not want to spend time with me. even before
Right.
he leaves the house. So I want to be present in these moments, even though it was a tough week this week of emotional outbursts and things like that. And I still want to, in that time, in those moments, I want to find the time that to cherish and be present in those moments because they're going to be gone very quickly. So I know that. So just kind of wanting to understand that fact while I'm in the moment rather than 20 years down the road. I'm like, oh man, I wish I had been more present during those times. So this week was kind of the week of me understanding that you're going to have difficult times. It's going to be difficult to communicate right now, but it's not always going to be that way. He's going to learn to speak. We're going to be able to communicate. So those times are going to come. And then also just learning to really appreciate the time that I have with him and being able to let go as well once he departs, not try to hold on and suffocate him before, kind of let him go. So those are all things that I've been thinking about this week.
I love that. I love that. And it's a good epiphany that you realized it now, like you said, and not 20 years from now. Now you have the chance to action, to act on it and be that present, positive force in his life. So that's fantastic. Regarding the communication, oh man, I get it. I get it. Now my daughter Emily is, let's see, July, August, September, October. She's 2 years, 3 months, and almost 4 months. And she's talking up a storm. we have the opposite problem. We can't get her to stop talking. But it's a good thing too, because it really has changed I'm trying to be honest. Like my enjoyment of spending time with her has only increased like exponentially through the fact that her language has developed so much, because it changes. Your relationship really does change when you can actually have a conversation with them and they understand you and you understand them and they feel seen and heard and they can express what's on their mind and what they're afraid of or happy about. Like that's really, really, really helpful and very important. And when you don't have that and you're relying on like a child just like indicating to you by like pointing or grunting, like, like, I remember that phase with Emily too, and it was very challenging. So I'm here for you, friend. And
thank you.
Whatever you need, you can lean on me as a fellow dad in this great universe.
I'm very grateful that Shoff and I have connected even before this podcast, and we're in similar situations. Shoff's a little bit ahead of me and also double because he has two. But having a friend who understands my situation is very very comforting to me. So I'm very glad that we are in the place that we are in our lives.
Oh yeah, I love it too. I love being able to talk with you. And actually, you know what? I want to pose this to our listeners. So I'll even put this on Spotify. If you listen on Spotify, there's usually a Q&A option. Sometimes I'll throw out like, hey, what's your favorite episode of the season? Sometimes I'll say, who's your favorite character? Maybe it'll be more open-ended or it'll be more multiple choice. But I think for this week, I'm going to ask in that. And you can also just send us a voicemail through Anchor by going to the link at the bottom of our show notes with your response. But alternatively, if you want to just vote and respond that way on Spotify, I'll make a question. I want to know if you guys are enjoying Boldly Dadding and would like to see it expanded. Not just its own little segment, but maybe its own episode, separate from an episode discussion. I'd love to know what our audience thinks. If you would like more of this, keep us posted.
Yeah.
But for me this past week, as I said, it's been a challenging week, and not necessarily because of the kiddos, but just challenging in general. There's when there's a 2-year-old and how old is she now? She's 5 months, I believe. Yeah, 5 months old, almost 6 months. it's a lot. And I work from home, so there's really no reprieve. It's all day long. But I was playing with Emily the other day, and she loves to play with my wedding ring. She loves for me to take it off and for her to hold on to it. Sometimes she puts her head around her finger, but it's for my finger versus her finger. Like she can fit like a couple of fingers inside my ring. But anyway, so she wanted to play with my ring, and I was like, I got this ring because I married Mama, and then she took the ring and she put it on her finger and she said, "Me marry my Mama." And I thought that was so cute. And then I was like, "Oh, you married Mama?" And then she says, "Me marry my dad." And that just like warmed my heart, like that just makes you melt like right on the spot. And then she like sent me to the moon because she said, "Me marry me." So at that point she was ready to marry herself. So I thought that was really super cute. No real lesson for this one other than just enjoying these quality moments that come by, and trying to remember them, because there's so many great moments that come by. And I take a lot of pictures and I take a lot of videos because I don't want to miss it. And my memory is not great. So like if I don't write it down or I don't take a picture, it's gone. And I hate that. So I definitely take a lot of pictures and a lot of video, and I try to write down stuff. But I want to do a better job of journaling my experiences as a dad, because there's so much that I forget about. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to look back. But anyways, after she said that she wanted to marry herself, she let out this huge cackle. And it was just really funny. So I love that. And also, this is not like the same part of the story, but just like in talking about communicating and being just like wanting to talk and talk and talk. She loves when we read her books, but now she's at the point where she even likes to read to us. But she's not reading like the actual words of the book. She's just interpreting what's on the pages and sort of inserting herself into those stories.
Oh.
But what's really funny, and I'm going to try to just word it the way that she words it. When she wants to read to us, she'll grab the book, she'll open it up to some random page. And instead of saying "once upon a time," she says "one time." So she starts with "one time." And then for some reason, she's really obsessed with Yoshi right now.
Ooh.
And so Yoshi's not, we don't even have any Super Mario books. Like we have a Yoshi, like stuffy for her that she has in her room. But it was like buried for a while. Like, I don't know where Yoshi came into the equation, but it's Yoshi everything right now. So she says, "One time Yoshi sits," and then she's like, "Me sit by Yoshi." Like it's always like about Yoshi. But so every story starts, or at least every story this past week starts with "one time Yoshi." And so it's just really, really, really cute. And then the last story I want to say, just real quick, is it's been raining a lot. And I know I live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm in Western Washington. And we've been told, like, "I hope you guys are ready for all the rain. Hope you're ready for all the doom and gloom. It's very cloudy." Yeah, we get it. Well, honestly, up until this past week, there hasn't been like any rain. And we've lived here for almost 4 months. So it's been unseasonably warm. And very dry. And so like, it hasn't felt like we've been in Washington until this week. And now it's gotten so much colder. It's gotten very cloudy, and it's been raining off and on, throughout the day. And, Emily loves to go to the playground. So after it had rained like for a full day, she saw that the rain had stopped. She looked outside, she saw the rain had stopped, and she turned to me like with a sense of urgency. And she said, "Playground, right now, no rain." So like, it's amazing how much she's able to comprehend. She's only a few more months older than Ezra, which means that you're not too far away from having these kinds of conversations with Ezra too. Yeah. And I know that's what you cannot wait for. And I can't wait for you to get to experience it, because it changes the game. It makes things so much more fun. And I can't wait. And Emily is very funny. So I can only hope that you get to experience that soon and start to see the kind of personality that Ezra has inside him, because I'm sure he's going to be just as cool as you and as cool as your wife, Candy. So, but anyway, so that's my stories. I mean, I could talk to the end of time about things that Emily does or Sage does. Sage has her 2 bottom teeth now. They've cut through. Ooh. So she already has 2 teeth, and she's not even 6 months old yet. So it's just like, slow down, kid. But anyways, that's boldly dadding for y'all.
Yeah.
We thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We know that there's a lot of Star Trek content out there, and we really appreciate that you choose to listen to us. It's really important. We love doing this, and we love having these moments, and we love sharing them with you too. So thank you. If you're looking to find us on various social media platforms, you can. We try to keep the name the same, make it easy. So we're on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And I cannot stress the TikTok enough. Please, please, please go to TikTok. But you're going to find us at TREKNOPOD. That's TREKNOPOD. I'm working really, really hard on I want to say Trek Talk, because it basically is, but a TikTok account for our Star Trek fans out there. I try to make funny stuff. I also try to put clips in from the podcast episodes as well, and Captain Vactor appears from time to time as well, and I thank him for that. He's also super hard at work on the TikTok for his comic book podcast called Comic Book Kaiju. And I think that's at CBK Pod.
Yes,
right?
That's correct.
CBK
and
Pod.
We're going to be having Captain Choff join the crew of Comic Book Kaiju for a special segment called Attack the Stack, where we're going to be talking about different comics that we've been piling up over the weeks, and we're finally getting to. So I'm very excited for Shoff to join the CBK crew.
I'm looking forward to it as well. It should be fun. But we do hope that you'll subscribe to our podcast. Additionally, we always talk about, hey, you're hearing us, you're listening to us. You're also watching us, because we're on YouTube as well. So, and Captain Vactor does an amazing job of editing our stuff and putting it on YouTube. I'm having some system issues lately, so we're going to be audio only for the next few weeks. I'm about to purchase a new computer that'll solve a lot of these problems. Woo! But I just want you to bear with us while we kind of take a break from the video and stick to the audio, just to continue to provide you with great content and quality in your earbuds. But yes, please subscribe on YouTube, TikTok, anywhere you get your podcasts. We would love that. If you enjoyed what you heard today, we would certainly love for you to subscribe to our show. And if you love the show, we know that being a Trekkie is a community, and a very strong and positive community. So let us, share us with your friends too. We would really appreciate that. And when you do go and leave us a review or rate us, please give us 5 stars. Anything less than that is certainly not going to help us, and we would really rather you just give us some constructive criticism on how to be better. So thank you so much. We're going to continue next week with this season finale. I shouldn't say next week. I should say this week. This week with the season finale of Star Trek Lower Deck Season 3, as well as cover the mid-season premiere of Star Trek Prodigy. Man, there is no shortage of Star Trek content out there. So amazing.
Yes.
Another thing to look forward to is we just recorded the second of our co-captain's commentary, where we watched and commented on Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And so we were releasing these on a monthly basis. The next one, Star Trek II, will come out on November 1st. So only about a week or so more, I think, because I think November 1st is maybe a Monday or Tuesday. So maybe about 7 or 8 days or so until that episode goes live. And then we'll move on to Star Trek III, The Search for Spock after that. So if you enjoy watching Star Trek films, and as our show notes have demonstrated, the films are coming back on November 1st to HBO Max. Uh-huh. So very, very exciting. But hopefully you'll pop on our episode with our commentary while you watch all of these Star Trek films on HBO Max.
Yeah.
So, with that, I believe our mission of the week is complete. Schaff and Vactor here, 2 to beam up.
Live long and prosper.